In the time that's passed since I recorded my October TBR video, 3 things have changed. 1, I have slept. 2, I now have a new mug of matcha tea latte. 3, I have 2 new plant children. This is Morrigan, and this is Moriarty. Hi friends, my name is Joel and welcome back to my booktube channel. If you have yet to check out my October TBR video, I would highly recommend you go check that out because I detail some of the books that I want to get read this month, and especially with it being Black History Month, I definitely want to get a lot of books read by Black British authors. And if you've yet to check out my Twitter nor my Bookstagram, I would highly recommend you go check that out as well because I post some extra bookish content that you're not gonna see here. For today's video, I basically wanted to recap all of the books that I read during the month of September, and it was really a kind of mixed reading month for me because we had some amazing books that I read. However, I didn't get as much reading done because I wanted to prep enough for university, and yes, whilst I only did pack until like the day before, I spent the majority of the time procrastinating and doing other things, and I definitely think I could have spent a lot more time reading, but I got 8 books read in the month of September, and I'm still really proud of that. Like, even if I only got 1 book read, I would still be proud of that. All of them were almost 5-star reads. We have 6 5-star reads, 1 4-star read, and then 1 1-star. And the 1-star we'll be getting into near the end of the video, although knowing how I'll title this video, you'll know that I'll be reading Kissing the Coronavirus, which... So the first book that I read in the month of September was The Summer of Everything by Julian Winters. This one was in collaboration with Caffeine Book Tours, and I did a whole reading vlog on Witches Steeped in Gold, but also The Summer of Everything, and I will have that link in the description down below because I know a lot of you like my reading vlogs. And The Summer of Everything was a really cute read. It follows Wes, who basically is trying to navigate his way through whether he wants to apply to college or continue working in his local bookstore. However, the local bookstore is coming under threat of being bought out by a local coffee chain, and Wes is trying his hardest to save the bookstore from being bought out, but also at the same time he is navigating his way through romance, but also navigating his way through his tough relationship with his older brother, who is getting married and wants him to be his best man. It's like a coming of age novel where Wes finally realizes what he wants and what he wants to do, and it's very exciting to kind of see that as someone who a few years ago was contemplating his own university journey and contemplating what I wanted to do. And so it kind of reminded me a lot of myself back then. And I really did love the writing and the way that Julian Winters was able to build his characters and the way that he was able to build this story. And I think that it was well crafted and well constructed. I did have slight issues with like the pacing and kind of the amount of conflict that there was in the novel, because I felt like, although I really liked all of the conflict, I felt like with the length that the novel was, I feel like we couldn't go into each conflict in incredible depth, which could have served this novel really well. Even so, I still really enjoyed the journey as well, and I really enjoyed the romance and all of the characters. They were just amazing. Yeah, I ended up giving up The Summer of Everything 4 stars because it was just iconic, and I really would love to read more of Julian Winters' writing in the future, and I would highly recommend you go check that out as well. And then the second book that I got to read in the month of September was the Adventure Zone graphic novel Volume 3, Petals to the Metal. This is the last one now before I have to wait for Volume 4, and I don't know how I'm gonna cope with this wait because it's just such an amazing graphic novel series, as you all hopefully would know, or if you're new here, you don't. The Adventure Zone graphic novel is a graphic adaptation of the Adventure Zone podcast, which is one of my favourite podcasts. It follows Clint McElroy, who is the father, and Justin, Travis, and Griffin, who are all brothers, and it follows this family in a Dungeons and Dragons story where they kind of break the rules but also enforce them, and just go on this massive, beautifully told journey of finding the grand relics, which are items that are used to bring great destruction, but also can be used to bring great power. The Petals to Metal followed Taco, Magnus, and Mill as they go on to find the 3rd grand relic, the Gaia Sash. And again, this was just such a stunning novelization of the arc, and Petals to Metal is kind of one of my favourite arcs of the series because of the sapphic romance that's kept inside, but at the same time I just really loved how it was told in this format, and it just kind of gave me those feelings of listening to the podcast podcast again, and I think that's what the graphic novel has done super well so far, is ensure that we still get that same feeling from the podcast without actually having to listen to it, which is amazing. Although I definitely still want to re-listen to the podcast because it's just a bundle of laughs. Although I have yet to start, well, I've yet to finish Amnesty, but I also want to start Graduation, which is like their other series, and I'm kind of like, oh, what do I do? But I think I'm just gonna have to like go through it slowly. Amazing graphic novel. Would highly recommend you go check those out. And I end up giving it 5 stars because I just love it so much. Now we get on to pain, now we get on to suffering, now we get on to, oh my god, my heart was torn out. Because next, I read the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. This includes The Poppy War, The Dragon Republic, and then finally, The Burning God. And I cried, I suffered, I cried, and I suffered some more. Mina from Mina Reads posted on his story because I think she got the arc of the Burning God, and she was like, I'm ready. And so I replied, no, you're not. I just love scaring people because there are two stages of life. There is before the Burning God, and there is after the Burning God. I just think back to my suffering back then, and I'm just like, oh, you sweet summer child. How this series changed your life. The amount of tabs I have in this book, the amount of blue tabs I have in this book to show how much I suffered. If you have yet to see the reading vlog where I read this entire trilogy, you can go watch it and see me suffer. If you ever wanted to see me suffer, that is the reading vlog for you. I was completely obsessed with R.F. Kuang's storytelling. I find that she writes superbly well, and she is able to describe things in such a brutally honest way, but also describe it in a way that is just so beautifully crafted, and I'm completely obsessed. And I loved every single one of these characters, like Hitae and Rin and Naja and Venka, and how we got to explore this world and how we got to explore each and every character. And I found that the world building was just super stellar in the way that it was told, and I really love this story, and I cannot wait to see the scenes from Naja's perspective that you get from pre-ordering The Burning God, which I did do by ordering the ILLUMICRATE archives box of the Poppy War. I'm super excited to be receiving that because for the very first time I will have a matching set of books. Also, the ILLUMICRATE archives editions of the Poppy War are actually stunning. Like, they're foil and they have these beautiful like printed edges, and I'm just like, oh, that's amazing. So the Poppy War follows Rin, who is a war orphan that is raised in the Rooster province, which is like the lowest of the low. And basically, instead of following her adopted family's wishes, she decides to ace the Keiju, which is the military test that allows you to enter Sinigard, which is one of the most elite military academies. And whilst all those people think that Rin cheated, she instead is allowed to enter Sinigard. And throughout the story, she is often receiving prejudice from her fellow classmates because she is darker skinned, and that she comes from a place that is not like the rest of them, which is a place of privilege. And so throughout all of these different experiences, she hones the power of a phoenix, which is a lost god in their world. The phoenix only wants one thing, and that is to burn everything it sees. And so it's about Rin trying to control this power before it consumes her. And this story touches on a lot of East Asian history, but more specifically Chinese history, because some of the events transpire with the rape of Nanking. However, I do also want to fully warn you of the trigger warnings that take place within this story, and I will have them listed in the description down below because there are so many trigger warnings for this series, and I definitely want you to be prepared for if you decide to read it. Just a phenomenal series, and I'm so excited for R.F. Kuang's Dark Academia novel. Like, that shit is going to slay. I think I had like post-Poppy War blues after finishing because I didn't finish a book for like another 10-ish days. It's no surprise I gave all of these books 5 stars. But yeah, and then next I decided to like treat myself to a romance because I really needed something to perk up my spirits once again. And so I read The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. Now this one was recommended to me immensely by Fadwa from Word Wonders because she told me that this was just such an amazing romance and that it was just really, really good. And so I read it. I didn't send Fadwa my reactions, which was bad on my behalf. However, oh my god, I really needed a really good sapphic romance, and this fit the bill. This was just amazing. This basically follows Lucy, who offers her services to the Countess of Moth to translate the Oleron manuscript, because Lucy is a highly skilled astronomer, not one that many men would believe that she is skilled in her field. And so the Countess of Moth allows her to start translating the manuscript because it is the last thing that her husband would have wanted before he had died, and now she's coping with his death. Lucy and the Countess of Moth then start to get to know one another whilst Lucy is transcribing this manuscript. And the more she transcribes this manuscript, the closer Lucy and the Countess of Moth become. However, when there is pressure from the Royal Society, where there's misogynistic men and also other influences and people trying to get in the way of their budding relationship, both of them have to make some decisions that might change their future forever. And oh my god, this was just such a cute read. This was just such a nice, fluffy read. Like, it really touched upon a lot of feminism within the 19th century. It also touched a lot upon status of women during this period. It also showed a lot of the hidden romances that women were having with one another and how hard it was for a woman to be with another woman. The way that Lucy would describe astrological systems and stars, and the way that she tried to make it palatable for a wide audience was just amazing. And I really love this story. It's just so gorgeous, and Olivia Waite's writing is just so beautiful, and the way that she crafts her sentences is just, I have immense jealousy of the way she's able to craft her sentences. Like, it's so beautiful, it is amazing, and I really just loved it. It's just so awesome, and it really touches upon a lot of the issues that women were facing during this time period, and I am just super happy that it's reflected in this. And I obviously gave this 5 stars because, oh wow, and I really do want to check out the second book in the Feminine Pursuits series, because I know Olivia Waite did release another book, I think it was last year or this year, let me check. It was the 28th of July 2020, and it is The Care and Feeding of Waspish Widows, and I'm quite excited to see if that is kind of like the same feeling as this, except this one is about bees as opposed to this one being about astrological systems. And then my final physical book that I read during the month of September was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this was the late night book club pick for the month of September for our very first live show. And oh my gosh, it was just so much fun to talk with Noelle and Elias about this book and about the society and the glitz and the glamour and how everything that came together in this beautiful text. And I just had so much fun talking with them, and I cannot wait for future live shows because the vibe was very real and the vibe was just great. And hopefully you'll be able to join us in October when we're reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and then in November when we're reading Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. That was my pick because I really loved the look of that book, and I don't know why I'm singing this, but yeah. And then in December we're reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is another one of my highly anticipated reads for this year. 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo follows Monique, who basically is trying to catch her massive story. And so when she is offered the chance to interview Evelyn Hugo for a large expose, she is like, of course I'll do this. But Evelyn Hugo specifically requests Monique, which has her feeling stumped. So when she arrives at Evelyn Hugo's house, Evelyn Hugo decides that she doesn't want to do this expose for the magazine. She wants to write a biography about her entire life. So Monique offers her services to Evelyn Hugo to write her biography. And as Evelyn Hugo tells her life, the mystery behind why Evelyn requested Monique in the first place unfolds. And so it is exciting, it is amazing, it is beautiful, it is wonderfully crafted, and I loved it. I loved this story so much. It was set in a period that I really like the 60s to the 80s are just such a fabulous period of time in terms of the fashion and the social culture. Not so much the homophobia, racism and all of that, but the aesthetics were nice. I loved how this story was also set out in parts where each husband had their own specific part in the story, so it really broke up the novel quite well and made it more digestible to read. These characters were just so beautiful. I cried 3 times during this story because the emotion was just running high. It was just amazing, and this story does shock you in some ways. The romances were just so gorgeous and amazing, and the gays win with this novel. The gays win. It's just so beautifully gay, and I love it, and I'm just stunned. by like this story and how Taylor Jenkins Reid was able to write this and perfectly encapsulate the experience. She is a white woman writing a biracial character and also a Cuban woman. However, I kind of felt like, specifically for Monique and the biracial perspective, she handled that quite well. Evelyn Hugo erasing her Cuban identity to seem more white. And I just felt like this novel kind of showed a lot of sacrifices that people have to make in order to gain the attention of major audience, and so it's really sad to see things go that way. However, now we can see that times are changing and I'm really happy about that. I ended up giving this 5 stars. However, if you did want to see a more in-depth discussion about this, Noelle, Elias and I do have the live show saved on Noelle's channel, so I would highly recommend you go check that out. Harry Cameron. Harry Cameron is my dream husband. Like, Harry Cameron, everyone, Harry Cameron. And then we get to the final book that I read in the month of September. Now, I didn't really mean for this book to be the last book that I read in September. However, I was in the middle of a seminar and someone had messaged me about this book and I saw that it was only 16 pages and I had nothing to do during my seminar. I mean, it was an online seminar. Not much was going on, and so I thought I decided to read it in the middle of the seminar. How wrong I was. So the last book that I read in the month of September was Kissing the Coronavirus by MJ Edwards, and this is a coronavirus erotica, a whole new genre that I never thought I'd read. I mean, I've read The Haunted Vagina, I've read Cape May, I've also read a bunch of other like weird and bizarre novels, but never something as weird as kissing a virus. Like doing something that is like currently going on in the world and trying to like profit off of it. But now that I'm looking on Amazon, someone a week ago, possibly seeing the success of Kissing the Coronavirus, has now released Courting the Coronavirus, which, it was her fault the virus got sent back to the 19th century in the first place. What? Okay, we're not focusing on courting the coronavirus, we're focusing on kissing the coronavirus. So I thought, how about I just reread it and give some live reactions, because I have burnt this story out of my mind and we'll just see what happens. So yes. I'm gonna put myself through this again because I don't want you to suffer, so instead I shall suffer because, yeah. So let us read Kissing the Coronavirus by MJ Edwards. She was supposed to cure the coronavirus. Instead, she fell in love with it. Alexa felt a rush of excitement every time she picked up the corona sample, like a pulsating, erect, desperate to unleash its devastation on anyone who touched it. Oh god. She's about to put the test tube in her... As the COVID-19 sample got closer to her, she felt the rush. An intense burst from within, like an entire firework display going off at once. She got interrupted. In fact, the doctor had stopped listening to reason, because Alexa had huge boobies, a thick, with 2 C's, ass, and nice legs. He would sometimes overlook her. Right. She loved beards, and a moustache was only the start of a beard. Like micro-penises are just the start of real penises. You need the rest of it for it to truly be meaningful. If only he had a beard, and was taller, and had a big, and was handsome and made her wet, like COVID-19. She's about to break the cure for COVID-19. Because she wants there to be more COVID-19 so that she can feel sexually aroused by COVID-19. Oh, the doctor has coronavirus. But didn't tell Alexa, so has now probably infected her with the coronavirus. Although she probably would have liked that. Oh no. The doctor's now turned into a green creature, which I'm now assuming is the coronavirus. The coronavirus made human, the coronavirus personified. Why is this written? Why has this been written? Your coronavirus? COVID-19? Yes. Why am I doing this to myself? Yes, you're asymptomatic. You had the virus without even knowing. So apparently she's now immune to the virus, which means they can have sex. Call me COVID. That's a really weird Carly Rae Jepsen song. Now call me COVID. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy. But here's my number, and call me COVID. What? Oh god, ew. Ugh. He filled her with love lotion, which oozed out instantly and spread right across the floor. As COVID wrapped her up in his arms, like she was the filling in a burrito, she realised that she never wanted to be apart from him. She wanted to spend eternity encased in his warmth. Was this love? She'd never felt it before. Lust, absolutely. But love? And she closed her eyes, and she rested, and rested, and... we're done. I think she died. I don't know. I think she died. Because there just doesn't seem to be any other solution to this mess than she died. I hope she died, because what the hell? What was that? I don't know who wrote Casing the Coronavirus. I thought it was a man, because that's what Goodreads linked it to. However, Goodreads, the guy who is that guy on Goodreads, now has said that he is not the author of Casing the Coronavirus, and it's in fact someone else. So, whoever MJ Edwards is, we have no idea. This story didn't need to happen, this story didn't need to exist, and I'm not sure why it is. We now also have Courting the Coronavirus, which, y'all, I don't think I'm going to read. However, maybe if I get drunk one night and I decide to read it, maybe I'll record it for all of you and post it, maybe. We'll just see what happens, we'll see what happens. But for now, that is everything that I read in the month of September, and I'm just really excited for the books that I'm going to read in October, so if you've yet to check out the TBR video, go check that out. So yeah, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you're notified whenever I upload next. This video shout out fates goes out to Q and TG, who recently did a blindfolded book cover challenge, and it just made me laugh so much. And I know Ben from Ben Reads Books is also going to be doing this challenge quite soon, and so I'm really stoked to see him do it. But also this video was just so funny and I loved it so much, and I'll have their link in the description down below, and I'd highly recommend you go check them out. And if you wanted to check me out on any other social media platforms, I'll have my links in the description down below, as well as my Ko-fi and my Amazon wishlist, which you can use to donate any amount of money or books to help boost this channel. And yeah, I guess that is everything. I've just had so much fun kind of recapping these books, but also yesterday talking about all the books that I want to read, and I just think this month is just going to be an amazing month. And so, until the next video, from me, Morgan, and Moriarty, bye friends.